Well, hi. I'm hoping I'm live right now. I am um, back on. Very happy to be back on YouTube. That the powers are letting me speak again, and I'm going to be very careful with my words so that I don't get taken off. But if I get taken off, that's okay too, because um, I'm not going to fight it. I'm seeking to live in harmony, and I think that that's what I wanted to talk about today was staying in harmony because so much of what's going on right now is getting people really upset. And I'm trying to do it. And most people don't know what to do with all of the information that's coming out or with all of the um, distractions that are coming out. And I just wanted to spend a couple of moments and tell people what I've learned in the last few years of my life has been to just take one teeny step in front of another. Because I know when I learned about fluoride and when I learned about the chemicals, and I'm still learning about the chemicals in the food and in the different medications and so forth that are pushed on us, it's pretty upsetting and overwhelming because you can't believe that people would be so evil, right? But I don't, they don't know they're being evil. That's what we've got to remember. Is they don't know. They don't know, right? And we've got to help these people over. We've got to help people. And I think that by letting people know that it's just, hi, whoever's here, thank you if you're watching, beautiful. What I just want to say is that if we do one significant change in our lives, it doesn't mean that significant change happens the day that you think about making that change. But if you start making efforts towards that, for instance, I am doing my best to buy the best organic fruit and vegetables that I can find. And I'm starting my garden. And I've been talking about, my mom bought me 3 trees, so I planted 3 trees. I have a lychee, a mango, and a avocado tree. These trees, I'm very grateful to my mom for buying them for me. I'll show them in a minute. I'm gonna go outside. But then I, of course, read about their, what do you call it? What type of trees are they? Like, are these hybrids that were made inside of in a lab so that they would produce well for commercial operations that look to have a tree for a certain time period where they can use certain fertilizers and so forth and get a high yield, and then it's not a big deal for them to just replant, and they put all of that into their financial modeling for agriculture. So I want to leave all of that, and I think that that's my invitation to everyone in the world, because I talk to people randomly out on the street and so forth about this. We need to just leave all this stuff behind as much as we can. And although we are not going to find organic food wherever we go, we can encourage we can encourage our neighbors, and we can encourage stores. When I go to Publix, and when I go to the grocery stores that are chains, or any store that's a chain, I account for more time in the store because I'm going to go and talk to a manager about something. And I'm going to spend time. I'm going to address things. Look at this. I'm going to address things that, well, that's interesting. I'm on a reverse camera. Anyway, I want to inspire people to speak up and explain I'm a customer, and these are the kind of products that I'd like in my store, but in a really nice way, like, hey, you guys, first, eggs, okay? So when you see free range on the package and it's got a beautiful drawing and artwork and so forth. Just know that free range is one aspect of a healthy life of a chicken. If the chicken is born and injected with hormones or antibiotics, then it doesn't matter if they're living so-called free like us. It means that they're living in a body that's been poisoned, right? The antibiotics evidently have an effect on young men and on their masculinity, and the hormones in the eggs affect the growth of little girls' productive parts of their body. And so that's eggs, right? No antibiotics, no vaccines, free range. Well, so guess what? We should all just get chickens, right? So I'm very blessed. My mother has chickens next door. We get our eggs from her, and that's great. Another aspect to look at is the feed you're giving them. I would recommend, I grew up on a farm. I sold eggs when I was young as 6 years old to the neighbors right here where I'm sitting. And those, so I know a little bit more about chickens than most people. But the important thing is also letting them forage and walk around and eat worms. So even if they're free range, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily eating food from the free range. And that's what we want to get back to. But then that means also that the ground is not pesticided and doesn't have any fertilizers, because that also affects all of us. So I know that's like, oh my gosh, because then that means you have to think about that for everything you put in your body. Yes. And that's the task. And you know what we're so blessed with? That whoever's watching this and has a computer, you probably have the money to make these decisions, right? And all I want to encourage you to do is to talk to people about your concerns. It doesn't matter who's president, and it doesn't matter what's going on in Washington, except they're working together with the TV channels and with all of the social media and all of this channel that has taken me down and put me in YouTube jail twice for I don't even know what I said, because there's so many things that communism or totalitarianism is offended by. So where can we speak freely? One-on-one with our neighbors. I don't have a phone, as I've talked about a couple of times, since it's almost 1 year now. August something like 18th will be like 1 year. I know where I was because the phone got wet by the pool and soaked, and I said, okay, this is a sign. I don't need a phone anymore. So, and you can do that too. And I did it in steps. I was like in the back of my mind marinating on it, and I said, okay, I had already been out of most social media, and I just slowly. I didn't have Telegram. I didn't have WhatsApp. So, but then I just learned so much about the electromagnetic frequencies, and I'm now, if you watch my channel, you'll hear me talk a lot about magnetism and metals. And I recognize I'm probably wrong, and I really hope I am. But I am the kind of I am myself, and what I do is I go hard into a subject, and until someone really can prove me wrong, I'm going to go with it. And so I'm into proof. I'm into empirical data. And I have 2 children that I'm unschooling. And so it's very important to me to not teach them any lies. When I don't know something, I say it. And and we research together. And again, this little video is to encourage you to ask people around you if they're aware of what's going on in a gentle, kind way. We have to walk these people out of the hypnosis, right? And it doesn't mean that we have to present flat earth, right? Which is hard for me because I love it. Because that's what helped me get to the periodic table of elements, which I believe is really a bigger depressing hoax than flat earth, as it is a ingredient list. And it's an ingredient list for mankind's demise. And I can speak at length, and that's why I have this channel about that, because I really would love to talk to other people about the so-called elements and their history. And I'm eventually will do maybe a series on each element that I know something about. With my daughter this morning, she downloaded some software to see, because what I'm gonna finally make videos where you can see the documents that I'm talking about and so forth, and be able to show how I research, and then you can compliment or negate me and say that I'm wrong, and that's fine. That's the purpose, you guys. We gotta get our egos out of the way and get information out that's gonna help children and adults survive. If we are living lies, then we're gonna die sooner. If you still believe that you're the person you go to see for health is looking out for you, I would encourage you to continue researching, because that's not what I found. And my father was a doctor, and he was a good doctor. And I know that from his patients that I've met as recently as 2021, who have told me your father was amazing. And my father was an obstetrician gynecologist. I did a 20-minute video about him a few weeks ago. And I know that there are good doctors out there, but very few. And I'm sorry to say it that strongly, but at my father's funeral, where doctors came, and it was already 2021, and Florida was already without masks and so forth, these doctors were wearing masks. And I'm just YouTube asking the question, why would they wear a mask when we know that as I studied research death rates every day at the beginning of this era in 2020, when my restaurant was closed, I saw that it was the smallest amount reported of deaths by far were in the countries where there were no masks. So when you, which probably who is ever watching right now, thank you so much. Whoever is listening or watching right now, listening, when you decide to do your own research, I'm not going to prove it to you. I'm not that kind of a content creator. I am someone who is exploring a lot of things, and I'm ready. I'm open to the questions. But there are many content creators in many fields. And so what I do is I really go into almost every field that interests me. So I'm biology, of course, chemistry. I am watching physics experiments. I'm also hardcore into, of course, the shape of the earth, which has to do with the physics experiments. I do know what's going on. Hey, Zuluone, thank you for coming. Hello. I saw you last night. There's been some really, really good podcasts coming out, right? And I think as I'm working today in the yard and with my children, I think that so much that right now I feel we have to start bringing the calm in for the people that are maybe waking up, right? What do you think, Zulioni? Like, I think people are waking up, and it's painful, and I'm seeing it in certain behavior of people that I love very much that don't live in my house but live close to me. And I think that's just because they don't know really where to go and where to put this frustration and energy, and they don't know how to research, which I absolutely understand, because they've been busy doing other things. But we've got to help people. Zulu 1, I'm sorry. Look at me. But I like Zuluone because I lived in Italy for a little bit, so I like things that flow. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. My battery's about to die. Thank you. And you guys have a beautiful day. And I'm going to start reading Hebrews Greek with a Mask On, the book. And I'm going to do it in different snippets. And maybe you can put the audio on at night. But I think it's going to be fascinating. If that's true, that Hebrew is Greek with a mask on, because that totally changes a lot of our historical and biblical narrative in many, many ways. And I think that's worth looking at. And if it's a lie, that's okay too. But the more we read and learn, and because this book was censored, of course, that makes me very interested. Thank you so much, Zulu 1. And we're going to continue. By the way, Zulu has a fun, uplifting channel, so please watch his channel. And he gets taken down too. And I think it's we've got to support each other, and just know that there is other good, positive information that we can consume from our friends that are transmitting and aren't scared to speak up and talk and And if we mess up, that's okay. And if I say something today and it changes tomorrow, I will fess up to it and say it. But I generally living, speaking, seeking truth are what I believe is the message from Yesu. And I'm calling Jesus Yesu, Iesu, because that is Jesus in Greek. I may have said before that I thought it was in Aramaic, and I'm wrong. From what I'm at right now, it's where I'm at right now in my research. Yesu is from Greek, and as we know, that was one of, or what we're told, that was one of Jesus's, or what we've been indoctrinated with, that was one of Jesus's native languages, or maybe not native, but a language he spoke. So I'd rather, and he hung around a lot of Greeks, right? That's evident that they were in the region. And so, and I also think that's interesting that Yesu sounds like yes, right? Isn't that cool? I'll probably just keep talking until the battery dies. Oh, hello. Welcome, Flat Earth Nation, FE Nation. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very grateful. I had a lot of fun on the chats the last 2 nights. If you don't know, I have a really a varied past, and I've had a lot of different jobs and experiences in life, and always, as I think all of us that have a little bit of curiosity and are not totally fluoridated, because I certainly was fluoridated for a long time, we want to know how the world works, and we want to understand how it all fits together. And I grew up, before this battery dies, I grew up on this land, barefoot as a kid. My dad was a doctor. My mom was in the Peace Corps. She's a horse trainer. And this is where I grew up. And so it is so cool to have my children walking in these fields. Isn't that amazing? But I know, today I was chopping my lawn by hand because I don't have a mower. And I said, hell, my mom has I think it's called scythe. And I chopped my yard and I did the backyard, and it's been great. I love working outside. And as a kid, I was the biggest complainer and moaner, but I love it. And I'm looking at the grass and I know differences because I remember being outside and having to stay outside because my mom and dad kept us outside a lot. I think until teenage years, we weren't allowed to sit around too much in front of the TV, but we did watch Star Trek after school, and I knew Scooby-Doo. And so, yeah, but we were probably more out kids than most people. One of my mom's new horses. Isn't this beautiful? Super blessed, super blessed. And I just want to encourage you, I'm sure, and my salt theory, which is consuming pure salt. I have my salts from Colombia that I will show you on another time. And so I rinse my mouth with it in the morning in salt water. Then I swallow it in the morning because it gives you energy throughout the day. I know it's good for me. I also sun gaze, which I'm going to be doing in a few minutes. So that means just looking straight at the sun. And that's why when I give comments about what I see in the sky, it's true. I don't have not wearing my glasses, and I'm not wearing any filter, and I don't have good eyesight. So I recognize that it's an interesting handicap, but it's also really important that we start. You guys see 2 suns up there or something? Because I don't have my glasses on, but my eyes are getting better as I look at the sun, and I think you lose weight looking at the sun. I got back. You guys, I drink, I eat, and I do fast usually till 2 or 3, and I was pretty good. But then when I start eating after 2 or 3, I kind of just eat. But I'm pretty picky about not eating packaged food. But I drink wine that has sulfites in it, which is another podcast I want to do, because I just went to France and learned that they do indeed inject sulfites into wine, and nobody can tell me with a straight face that it's actually naturally occurring. And I can absolutely debate